Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. A special thank you to my patrons, Wild Rose, Lauren Chris, That British Unicorn, Jam Beans, Debbie Elliott, and D. Higgins. So, we're back again. I just want to address one thing right off the bat. I know lots of y'all are going to say that, why do you always have this one shirt on? The fact of the matter is, I actually have 3 shirts that are pretty much almost exactly identical, or at least come off exactly identical on camera, when in reality, they look, I want to say slightly different in real life. One of them is longer and a different material. This one has like a, you guys can't see it. Can you see it? There's like buttons. There's buttons on the back. It's cute, okay? I look cute when I wear it. But also, this is my favorite color, so Okay, we're back again with another Chatty Get Ready With Me / article review. And today we're going to be talking about an article by Shape magazine. If you guys aren't aware, I think Shape is the magazine that had Kim Kardashian on the cover, where she had the little like champagne bottle on her butt. Maybe that was Paper magazine. I don't read magazines, if y'all can't tell. Anyway, we're here to talk about this magazine article, and it's all about how to be a good ally to the fat activist community. Now, you guys know, I have a lot of issues with the fat activist community. I have a lot of issues with just the way that this movement is projected and co-opted by the most extreme elements. And I really like talking about this stuff. And so I thought I would discuss this about allyship, how I think that you should be a good ally to people who are heavier, who are fatter, and who do face discrimination. Because once more, never going to hear me say that, body positivity is not needed and that, fat phobia is not a real thing. It's a real thing. It's just that sometimes the message gets a little bit lost when your views are slightly extreme. Once again, for the people in the back or those who are new, my channel hasn't grown as much in the past few weeks, so if you guys aren't new, then I'm sorry for repeating myself. But if you are, by some miracle, new, hey, welcome, hello, hi, nice to have you. Tell your friends about me, and tell them, I'm looking for new friends. It's been a lonely year, so I could use a couple of new ones. And if you know someone who is in that market who's looking for a new friend and likes to discuss things about the body positivity community and Amberlynn, Chantal, and or just likes to listen to a lady talk about shit while she puts her makeup on, maybe I'm your girl. My mirror is right here is what I was trying to say. So I'm going to look right here, and if I don't look directly at you, I'm sorry. I'm still like trying to get my setup in slightly better position. You guys can't see, but directly behind me there's like this big silver umbrella thing trying to diffuse light. It's a whole thing. Anyway, let's get into it. First things first, I've been asked a few times about my skincare routine. I don't really have a skincare routine because I'm lazy as shit. But the one thing that I do use I've used it for years too. It's this stuff. It's the CeraVe Skin Renewing Night Cream. It's amazing, and it's one of the only things that I have found that doesn't like break me out or cause me issues with my skin. If you guys don't know, I have pretty sensitive skin. I've got eczema, which I have dealt with forever, and I also have pretty oily skin, and so it's hard to find something that will work for both. Sorry, I rub my face will get red. It's just how it works, which is amazing because you would assume for someone with melanin that wouldn't be an issue, but no, my skin likes embarrassing me all the time. And again, same foundation as always, the Born Again. I'm not, like I said before, not the hugest fan, but whatever. I'm going to use this stuff up. If you guys want me to actually review like different products or talk about different products, I'm more than happy to do that. Let me know what products you guys would be interested in me talking about, and I'll see what I can do. I mean, I'll be very honest, if it's at Sephora, I'm probably going to go get a sample of it and try it a few times, and if I end up liking it, I might consider buying it, but like, I'm not going to buy an entire tube of whatever. It's wasteful, and also, not even just from like a money point of view, just from an environmental point of view too. Anyway, so I'm going to link the article below, like I always do. I want you guys to go through and read it yourself, and then please come back and tell me your opinions after you've watched my video. And, might be told a few friends, whatever. But just let me know what you guys think. Because as always, my opinion on these issues isn't like fixed. I am always open to having my mind changed. And, if you've got information here that I don't know or that I'm misinformed about, I would love to know about it. Because, I don't enjoy being wrong. I want to be right. And if I am wrong, then I would hope that someone would tell me so that I can correct myself and then be right in the future. That's what it's all about, really. For my concealer, you guys might be thinking that I'm going to be using the regular concealer that I always use, which is my Erase Paste from Benefit. But I have this Beauty Blender Bounce Concealer like thingy, this little card thingy that I got, and I want to try this concealer. So I'm going to do that this time, and I'll see how that works. I mean, they've given you such a tiny amount. I don't even know how you're supposed to use it. Oh, that is... That's going to make me look a little ghostly. Okay, then. All right, so to the article, finally. Those in privileged bodies should be working, either on the ground or digitally, at amplifying and supporting fat activists without the centering of self and your personal experience in your body, says Yvette Dion, editor-in-chief of Bitch Media. In order to build a kind of groundswell around fat phobia being an unacceptable condition in our society, you need allies. All right, this article again has this idea of, you shouldn't center yourself when you're talking about the body positivity community. You shouldn't center yourself when you're talking about fat activism. If you're not in the worst, most extreme of like positions, then you shouldn't get to talk about it. You should instead only like use your platforms to refer to other people. Okay, so there's a couple of issues here. One is a logistical one. One is a problem with just implementation, right? So like the actual concept of it, I have an issue with on the one hand, then I also have an issue with just implementation. So from the implementation point of view is that if you're just going to refer to other people, if people are here for your content and for you and are here to listen to you talk, the moment you bring somebody else on, they might not be entirely conducive and might just be like, oh, okay, this is not her, I'm not interested in this, and just click out. And you might end up getting a smaller audience. Wouldn't it be better if their whole audience got the information? Wouldn't it be better if everybody who was going to listen will listen, because you have the person whose channel they're subscribed to, whose Instagram they're subscribed to, whatever, who they're following on Twitter? Wouldn't it be better if all of their audience listened rather than just a subsect? So that would be the implementation issue. The second issue that I have with it is that I feel like I've said this in every video about body positivity, fat activism, but either diet culture hurts everybody, everyone is impacted, and therefore it is an issue that everyone should care about, or, diet culture only impacts some people, and therefore it is not a widespread issue. And if it's the former rather than the latter, then everyone should talk about their experience with diet culture. Now, I can understand maybe you want more of the focus to be on people who are, say, 200 pounds or whatever, like overweight, 200 pounds overweight, and not on people who are relatively thin and who can, I guess, quote unquote, pass, right? But that's not what you're saying. You're saying to people who are on the thinner end that, your problems aren't really all that extreme, and therefore if you are talking about it from your point of view, then it shouldn't matter. You can have someone who's real skinny talk about this issue. They can come on to their platform and talk about how, it made them hate their body, made them want to lose weight, or made them develop an eating disorder, or made them just feel shitty about themselves and impacted their self-esteem. And that's going to relate to a different audience than, say, somebody who is 400 pounds and talking about these issues, which is not to say that either one is more important than the other. But if you want everyone included in this movement, you want everyone to care about this movement, then a really good way is to show them that it impacts everyone. Like racism impacts everybody. I think it's unfair to look at a group of people and be like, well, if you're talking about it, then you only have to give shout outs to other people. You only have to lend your platform to other people. And if you talk about it from your own point of view, then you're taking attention away from these other people who are the actual victims, while you yourself are not really impacted, since you yourself are actually already thin, right? You don't know other people's internal struggles. You don't know how negatively they've been impacted by all of this. So for all you know, they could have been impacted very negatively. All of their wounds are internal. All of their struggles are internal. They're not external. They're not like there for everyone to see right on the surface. So I don't agree with this idea. I don't agree with this idea, and I don't really like the promotion of the fact that if you are a thinner person, then you should not talk about it and you should only lend your platform to other people. I will say that when I first put it on, it looked absolutely crazy. After both blending it out and putting a little bit of my powder, which is As always, an amalgamation of a bunch of stuff, but it's mostly the Maybelline Shine Free Loose Powder in light. It's not actually light. I've showed you guys this before. It's basically just like 1 or 2 shades darker or about my skin. It's about my skin tone. I don't know. A bunch of different powders left over that I just stuck into one container because it was easier. What is a privileged body? Could someone explain that to me, please? If someone here is more familiar with diet culture talk and like just with the fat activist community, can someone explain to me what a privileged body is? I'm guessing the ideal privileged body would be somebody who is thin and white and cis and heterosexual, right? But what about people who fall into like a different category? What about people who are thin but they are black? Or they're thin but they are trans, right? What about people who are, they're otherwise fine but they've got a mental disability? Right? What about people who have none of those things? Both mentally and physically they are fine, but they are religious and so they wear a hijab. Who has a privileged body in that circumstance? Like, who gets to define where is that hierarchy of where privilege is? So who can and cannot speak about body positivity? So in the last case, say if you are otherwise completely blemish free and you live in North America where being a hijabbed Muslim woman is a minority, do you still get to talk about being proud of the way that you look or choose to, dress? Can you still be proud of that? Can you still show your support for the body positivity community? Or does it not count because this is a choice that you've actively made for yourself? And if it's based on the fact that it's a choice that you've actively made for yourself, then can I not also say that being, say, 200 pounds or 300 pounds overweight is also, give or take, a choice that you've made for yourself, quote unquote, right? Like, I don't actually mean that if you are 400 pounds, it's your fault, but like, if you have the means to get help and you're choosing not to, then wouldn't that also at least partially fall on you? So I mean, it seems like these are such nebulous terms, and without a clear definition, it ends up meaning whatever it is that other people want it to mean. And it's harmful, I think, because trying to give it, like when people do go out of their way to give them rigid definition, what ends up happening is that you end up excluding a bunch of people who would otherwise have been very sympathetic to your cause, right? So in the case of a woman who wears a hijab, who, you don't know, there has been a case, I can't remember the name of it, but if I can find it, I'll throw a thing up on the screen about this girl. I think she was like 12 years old. She was an immigrant, I think Somali immigrant, but I don't remember exactly. And she was bullied. And this was in the UK. She was bullied and they killed her. And basically the cops ruled it a suicide. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was an immigrant and she was Muslim. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was black, But if somebody like her talks about their experience, if somebody says, hey, I have been made fun of because of the way that I looked in public my entire life, and, I want to be proud of it. I want to be positive about this, about my appearance. Can they not also embrace body positivity? Or is that not okay because they are otherwise mentally, physically fine and they happen to be thin? I want to know where these limits are, because without that defined to me, I want to know who, like, it becomes really weird, because then anyone who you feel is taking the attention away from the real victims of diet culture, can't talk about it. And no one actually knows who the real victims of diet culture are, right? So like Virgie Tovar can talk about it, about how diet culture has impacted her. But I mean, honestly, what if someone goes up to her and says, hey, Virgie, you still have your mobility. You might be 300 pounds, but you're not 600 pounds and losing mobility with lymphedema on your legs. So you're not a real victim of diet culture. So would that be a fair criticism to make? I mean, I would personally argue not, but I'm also personally in favor of letting the movement include as many people as you can. The bigger the coalition, the more people you can impact and the more people you're going to have on your side. I find that using terms like privileged body without a term that has a very nebulous definition, without any kind of firm ideas about what that could actually mean to be very harmful. And more importantly, I mean, calling something a privileged body, I don't know, it seems so odd to me. You know, you can have people who are, you know, very, very fit, who work out every single day, who eat right and do exercise, and, you know, they make sure that the food that they're eating might not be the tastiest, but that it's like the nutritionally most adequate and most dense. Those people are considered to have a privileged body. I mean, what is the privilege there? I have a friend of mine who pretty much lives at a gym, right? She spends so much of her money to be able to afford a gym membership. It's like a nicer, fancier gym. And she spends so much time there. She works out all the time. Her butt is like granite, girl. So is that a privilege where she spends all of her free time there? She doesn't do like crazy expensive things otherwise because she can't afford them. She sacrifices on stuff that other people could have, things like you know, like nice TV and like gorgeous apartment and like fancy cars, fancy clothes, vacations, even hanging out with friends a lot of the time, because she's like, hey, I can't afford it if I want to keep paying for this. So is that a privilege? I would say that's a sacrifice that she's making. So to define a sacrifice as privilege, it seems purposefully alienating. That's all. By the way, I'm using the Urban Decay Troublemaker palette. Urban Decay does not make like the coolest palettes anymore. Like a lot of their color stories are very repetitive and boring, but for the most part, I've really liked a lot of their quality, and this is a really good quality palette. So if you ever see this anywhere, I saw one, I want to say at a TJ Maxx a little while ago. So if you see one of these somewhere and you feel okay with buying something that came out, I think, a couple years ago at this point, I would get it. Really good quality palette. The color that I'm using is 7x7 right now. I'm just using it to define a shape and basically smoke out a little bit my lower lash line. Anyway, to get back to the topic of privileged bodies, if, you know, taking a selfie of yourself and putting it up online makes you feel better about an aspect of your physique that you were bullied for, right? Say you were really skinny and, you know, you're a lady and you had a flat chest and that was something you were bullied about, you know? Taking a selfie of you wearing something that, you know, shows off your flat chest, that could feel very empowering if it's been something that you're very self-conscious about. If you are somebody who was very, you know, heavy and was told, hey, don't show your stomach or whatever, then that can be a thing that you can show off and you can be proud about that. But like just saying that only these people should post pictures with these hashtags, especially when the hashtags are not things about just fat activism, right? These are hashtags that are talking about body positivity. I just feel like it's more harmful than it is good, and you're purposefully kicking people out, and it's not nice. Sorry, I vibrated the camera, but it's not nice. Don't kick people out of a movement that can help them, that can make them feel better, that can make them feel included and seen and heard. I have learned so much by following those who don't look like me online and hearing from their own personal experiences, says Mick Zazon, creator of #NormalizeAllBodies. Because my story isn't unique, it's a global issue. Many within the fat community, including Alyssa D'Alessandro, blogger behind Ready to Stare, have applauded Zazon for her activist ways. As the co-founder of The Rose Retreat, Zazon and her team have hired a board of diverse influencers to bring perspective to their space, paying them for their input, which, given how often fat creators are asked to work for free, is something that stood out to D'Alessandro. I truly believe at its core that body positivity was created to liberate and free all bodies from societal oppression and size discrimination, D'Alessandro tells Nylon. Sharing a selfie, if you exist in a privileged body, is not a liberating to someone who doesn't. Zazon frequently highlights fat creators on her platform of over 734,000 followers, first clarifying with her audience that this is a safe space for them to share their experience. Hate is not tolerated, and Zazon makes sure to rid her platform of anyone who can present harm to creators she features, so that they are not expending more emotional labor than they need to. I'm now using the color Bailout, which is it's like a light peachy cream color. I'm just going to use that to go around the edges and just sort of buff it out, give it a little bit of a softer edge. Anyway, she talks about how if that there is this person, they're bringing other, fat activists onto their platform and giving them a wider base to speak to and trying to get more people to understand their point of view, which is great. I'm glad that this person is comfortable sharing their platform. That should not be something that's expected of everybody, but it is a nice thing for someone to do. That being said, a lot of fat activists I've seen see anybody as, ooh, wait, let me back up a second. She talks about how she, will delete any comments that could cause harm to the creators that she's featuring on her channel. All right, cool. But not every word of criticism is harmful, and not every criticism is like a troll, right? Like, I get a lot of people who will call, especially people who speak about Amberlynn and whatnot, concern trolls, and that's not true. I would think a lot of people who want to talk about this, talk about Amber, talk about Chantal, talk about a lot of these situations, are not concerned trolling. They're actually concerned. And their concern might translate into anger, as it often has for me, but that doesn't mean that they're not concerned. I'm now using the color Relish, which is right here. It's like a cooler, almost pinky red. Just sort of stamping that right into my outer kind of third V and like pulling it just slightly to the sides, just a little bit. If you're talking about just like deleting any comment that someone makes that could be perceived as being harmful or criticism, like, I don't think that is productive, especially if you're there to educate people. If somebody has a question and they're confused about something, or if somebody has a disagreement, rather than giving their disagreement any kind of air and trying to get them to see your point of view, what you're essentially doing is just shutting down the conversation. And like I've said with Chantal, if you shut down the conversation in one sphere, in one place, people will find another place to talk about this stuff. People want to know things. People are very curious. It's just how we are built as a society. We want to know everything. We have an incurable need to just be nosy, I guess. Yours truly included. I'm not distancing myself from that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think curiosity is great. People often like to say curiosity killed the cat, but they often forget about the second part, which is satisfaction brought it back. And that's the kind of person I am. I like to know everything. Just on a side note, sometimes I think about the fact that I'm never going to know the truth about the JFK assassination, and it actually keeps me up at night. I think I might have a problem. All I was trying to say is that that is a hard balance to achieve when you're trying to both talk about criticism and trying to keep people from harm, and understanding that balance can be difficult. And if you're doing it in the wrong way, people are just going to assume that you're trying to censor them. And I think that's going to end up creating more animosity than it will actually end up enlightening people and helping them. All right, I set this concealer, but it's like already starting to crack underneath my eyes. And I have pretty deep set eyes, so that could just be me, but something to keep in mind. Not everyone is on board with the topic of thin allies, however. The fat community has been burned many times by those who claim to support, but rather take up space and erase voices, particularly those of Black women, from the conversation. Seeing this happen across identities, Deshauna Harrison, an editor at Wear Your Voice mag, and soon to be author of Belly of the Beast, says they don't actually believe in allyship. In my experience, these people are less committed to marginalized people's liberation and are more committed to performing a sense of camaraderie to the marginalized group, but for their own personal gain, Harrison explained. In a perfect world, Harrison would define a thin ally as someone who is really understanding and interrogating how fatness interacts with anti-Blackness, a topic that requires extensive research. Fat phobia itself is driven from racism, dating far back to the days of slavery when the black body was ridiculed, yet over-sexualized, in closed corners by powerful white men. The reason we look at bodies the way that we do is because racism, anti-fatness, fatness, and ableism, Harrison added. We need to eradicate these things because the issue with your body are predicated on having issues with being black, being disfigured, being fat, or being disabled. Okay, once again, this idea of fat phobia and racism being linked is brought up. I don't know. I have not read the books that they're mentioning here. Once more, if anybody's interested in me reading these books and like talking about it, I would appreciate that. I mean, well, if you guys are interested, just do let me know down below and I can totally do that. I'm a pretty fast reader, so you know, it's not too much of a hardship for me. But the fact of the matter still stands that I have not seen, but up to now, I have not seen very much evidence for people who, like supporting people who say stuff like this, right? Until the 1990s, having extra weight on you was actually considered 1990s. Until the 1900s, having extra weight on you was considered a symbol of attractiveness and of prosperity and wealth. And it was actually considered the norm. People were considered beautiful. Hell, in China, certain women who were thinner, who had a petite build, would have difficulty finding spouses. So I don't know where this idea comes from that it's linked to racism when the transatlantic slave trade started in the 1500s, I believe. I think with the Portuguese, but don't quote me on that. So I'm a little bit confused. I'm not saying that this is wrong, but everyone who said this in any article has provided me with zero evidence and zero compelling like history. All I've heard is people just repeat this. And unfortunately, I'm not in the habit of just listening to people. Like if you repeat it enough time, I'm not one day just gonna turn around and be like, you're right, I guess you've cut me out, sir. Not sure what kind of shimmer I want on my lid. There's like a really pretty green color and there's like a grungy gray one and like a really cool copper. So I'm gonna leave it for a little bit and I'll come back to it once I've made up my mind. But where is the proof, right? That's all I'm asking for. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I want evidence for this. Where is there historical evidence for this? Do we have logs from it, first-hand accounts from it? I've not seen anything so far, and so it makes me skeptical, which is not to say that it's not real, just that it gives me pause. I don't like to just believe in things because people have said I should believe in them. There's a ton of stuff floating around outside that is not actually real or credible. People just believe in it because they've always believed in it. Like the myth that MSG is bad for you or that deodorant with aluminum is going to give you cancer. None of that stuff is actually real. It's just stuff that started for one reason or another and people now very firmly believe in it. And in case you're new around here and don't know about my obsession with this product, this is once more the Safiya Nygaard and ColourPop lipstick in bikini bottoms. The nub is now exactly that big. It's just running out every single day. It's running out. It stresses me out, man. I should remember to look it up, but I always forget. And then I always remember when I'm actually applying it, which is like generally on camera nowadays. And when I'm applying it, I'll be like, shit, I'm using my phone to record, so. For those up to the challenge, further than sharing your platform online, being an effective activist requires a deep education and understanding of what the fat experience is. Because while the co-opted body positive movement may preach otherwise, what the fat activist community is fighting for is not simply the end of body shaming. There's been less of a concentrated effort to pass more workplace discrimination laws that protect fat people from discrimination, or there is less focus in the body positive movement on protecting the disabled people. All right, laws protecting people from discrimination based on weight. Now, to a certain degree, I can agree with that, right? But I've said this before. If you have someone who comes in for a job that requires like manual exercise, that requires you lifting heavy weights on a regular basis,
and they cannot perform those tasks, right? This is not somebody who's been at this job and they're performing their work and, you know, like with assistance or with whatever they can make it work. Because this was something that pregnant women had to fight for, where accommodations were made for men but not for pregnant women, and instead they were fired. I think the case in particular that I'm thinking of was heard in the Supreme Court in 2012, maybe. Either way, that's not the point. The point is that if you are someone who is, say, 300 pounds, right, and has difficulty standing on their feet for a good portion of the day, and you go to interview for a job where you would have to be standing and performing manual tasks for the majority of the day, and the guy asks you, and you either answer truthfully or answer not truthfully, but the person sees through your answer, and they say, you know, I'm sorry you didn't get the job because I don't think you'd be able to do this task. Is that unfair? Is that discrimination? I would say it's picking a better candidate based on the information that you have available to you, right? Like if you had someone who came in and they didn't have the necessary experience to perform the job that you're hiring them for, then would it be considered discrimination in that case? I don't think so. And so that's why I feel I hesitate to call this discrimination as well. And if you're comparing it to discrimination for the disabled, there's a huge difference there. I shouldn't say no one, but most people who have a disability don't have a disability by choice, right? They might have been in a situation that they chose that led them to being disabled, but the vast majority of people are disabled because of circumstances in their life that they could not control. Weight, once more, despite what other people may have you believe, weight is an aspect of yourself that you can control, as difficult as it may be. Skin color is not. Disability status is not. Trans is not. LGBTQIA plus is not. So, I don't know. If you're talking about laws protecting the disabled, okay, there's two. When you talk about the laws that are protecting against the disabled, there's two issues that I have with it. One is that you're literally bringing out the disabled and you're saying, well, there's no laws protecting them or us, sneaking in the or us, right at the end there, which I don't like, because not protecting the disabled is something that a very large group of people cares about. It's something that a lot of people would advocate for, and it's generally a point of view that a lot of people can get behind. And attaching yourself to that bag means that you're kind of trying to sneak under the door as it slams shut, right? I don't like that. And then second, there are actually a lot of laws protecting against protecting disabled folks from discrimination. Knowing the law is a different thing. Same thing with protections for pregnant people, right? If you happen to be pregnant and you feel like you're being discriminated against, please do Google a little bit and see what laws you have available to your disposal. There's a ton of laws, both federal and state, and then also, of course, local laws that you can use to support your argument. The problem is that people will take advantage of the naivete of their employees and force them into situations that are maybe not the best for them mentally, emotionally, whatever, because they think that they can and because they think their employees don't know any better. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they're not wrong about that. God, thermoregulation is such a problem for me. My heat's going this whole time, and I'm my vent is right here. That's why occasionally you see curtain ghost. I'm feeling so hot right now. And I would just like to add this point here, because I'm not really sure where to add it, but it's a thought that occurs to me, and it's occurred to me for a while. Anyone ever found it a little bit weird that the people who generally tend to be advocating for the rights of fat people and fat liberation and whatnot happen to be very, very young people, happen to be people who are fat but not 700 pounds and near immobility? Because when you're talking about advocating for the rights of fat people, advocating for better treatment of fat people, advocating for the acceptance of fat people, for making life easier for fat people, all of those things, and also saying that you should find it attractive, that you can't discriminate, that you can't judge, are only the people who fit into that area, right? They're not the most, as they themselves would use in their language, affected by diet culture. So what about people who are like 700 pounds and have lymphatic masses on their legs and are near immobility and are living in poverty because literally all the money they have goes directly back into food? What about those people? And there is a good portion of people who are like that as well, right? 600-pound life would be a good way to sort of experience what their experience is like day to day. Those people are not advocating. Those people are not talking about diet culture. Those people are actively trying to lose weight and fix their situation because they understand, they see what this path has let them down and that has led them down, and they are actively upset by it. And I find it very telling that the people who are advocating for this movement are not from that group of people. They're not from that group of overweight and obese people. The highlighter that I'm using is actually an eyeshadow. It's from the Sigma Viper palette in Beguile. It's like this little like shiny pink shifting white pearl color. It is absolutely stunning. If you guys have never tried this, the Sigma Viper palette, it's available on Amazon. If I can remember to link it down below, I will. This is an absolutely amazing palette. It's just 9 pans. It looks like this. It's beautiful, it's versatile, it's colorful, it's everything. Anyway, so I come back to, while being fat is not necessarily a choice that one makes, it is definitely not the same as being any one of the other categories that they like to compare themselves to. And I do say they. When I say they, I don't mean fat people, because I myself am a fat person. What I mean is activists, fat activists are the they in this situation. The color that I'm currently using is the color called Bankroll. It's like this shiny mossy green, it is my favorite color of Lyfe. Would you guys be interested in seeing a review of the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette? Because that palette is calling my name. It looks so beautiful. So another issue with bringing people onto their platform is actually one that Obesetobeast has mentioned, where he's brought people onto his platform to talk about something, and he's been burned by it because it turns out they support some really like toxic shit. And he's like, well, I don't want to be seen as co-signing that kind of behavior. And I think that's absolutely fair. Just because you agree with somebody on one thing doesn't mean that you are like co-signing all of their behavior. But if you're a huge platform and you're pushing this person's content, that's how it can come across. So I totally get his point of view, and I totally understand what he's trying to say here. And that is a reasonable thought to have, especially if you are someone who makes a living on this, right? If your livelihood depends on your internet presence, and you're using your internet presence to push other individuals, and one of them, you know, what if they're like a fat activist and they really believe in the liberation of fat people, but then they also happen to think that the Holocaust is not real? That's like a pretty extreme example, but there are people who are like that, who believe in really like ridiculous shit. Like, I mean, Ben Shapiro is a great example of somebody who is an active and willing participant and pusher of ideologies that have hurt Jewish individuals, including hurting them right now with the rise in anti-Semitic crimes. But he continues to push those forward because he is a conservative and that's what he believes. So if you are a conservative, but you happen to believe you happen to be Jewish, but you're like, hey, yeah, I support a lot of the, you know, financial aspects of conservatism, but I don't believe in this crap. This is nonsense. But you have someone like Ben Shapiro on there. Well, your audience can rightfully say, hey, he believes in all this shit. Are you saying that now you agree with it also? That's kind of the issue here, I think. I'm just saying that sometimes the reason why people don't have other people, other creators on their platform is because they might not have the ability to run as extensive a background check as people on Twitter can do, and vet every single thing this person has said or done. And if my livelihood depends on my internet presence, I'm not going to be very keen on messing that up. And if I still care about the subject, well, I might just bring it up myself. But if you're saying that's not good enough either, then you're putting people in a very catch-22 position.
And remember, the algorithm is in your favor. Those in thin bodies are automatically going to get more attention because of the privilege that they have. So use the platform and use the platform that you have been able to build and share it with people who the algorithm is not favoring, D'Alessandro says. When speaking with brands on hiring or hiring managers, make an effort to bring up fat people in diversity conversations. D'Alessandro keeps a list handy of plus-size Black and transgender influencers that brands can consider when she finds a campaign to be lacking on inclusivity. It's vital to remember that in all body-positive work, Black women should be centered. And not one tokenized Black spokesperson, but an array of people who bring different perspectives to a conversation.
All right, we've gotten to the end of this article, and then this last sort of throwaway line here is once more pissing me off, because so far there was exactly one mention of disabled individuals and exactly one mention of trans individuals, and once more it seems like caring for the sake of expanding your base rather than genuine empathy, understanding, or appreciation for what they bring to the table, because you haven't really said, done, or expressed any views here that would make me feel that you support these communities as a whole, just how they intersect with the idea of fat activism and what you can gain from being seen as an ally to these communities, what they can bring, especially when it comes to the issue of trans individuals, because there's been a lot in the news, and 2020 has been a year of really understanding and seeing the circumstances with which trans people exist in the world and trying to make them better for them. So you've brought them into the argument so that you can say, yeah, see, it's just like the same thing. It's the same thing here that we are supporting. But at the same time, you've had exactly one mention of them and in no substantial way. And you've not really addressed anything in here other than the fact that they are also a group that exists and apparently are also experiencing the same things. It seems to me like a throwaway line, the kind of thing that you would put in there so you can attract more traffic. So somebody who's looking for more information on how to be a better ally to the trans community might come across this article as well. And that's very cynical of me to say, but I gotta be honest here. The color that I'm using currently is Clash, which is the white half. Ooh. There was some fallout from the green shade I'm seeing right here. You guys can probably see it. And it's left quite a stain. Ooh, that's coming off so green. I'm just going to go back in with a little bit of concealer. I'm using the erase paste this time. And I'm using it because it's got more of an orange tint than the other one I use, and I'm hoping it'll cover some of that discoloration. Yeah, there we go. All in all, I think that the best way to spread the message is by talking about your experiences with this community, by talking about how you've been impacted negatively by diet culture, what you think is problematic, calling out individuals who are being problematic, calling out people who are being fat phobic, and supporting to as many effective charities as you can. I would not say to support any individuals, like one or two people, because the problem with creating a person and putting them on a pedestal, right, is that if they ever do something that is negative, that's problematic, all of their past actions are also cast into doubt. And to avoid that, I just like to support charities who are doing that kind of work. All right, the color I'm wearing and that I'm going to put on my lips it's called Meritage. It's the Bite Beauty High Pigment Pencil. And it's kind of like this pinky red color almost. think it's coming off a little orange on camera, which I don't really understand why, but it's much more pink in real life. Be an ally. Support people who are experiencing this kind of discrimination. If you hear somebody bullying somebody else because they are fat, because they're heavy, because they're anything, because they're different in some way to other people, call them out, you know, defend people as well as you can, and try and be a better person, more inclusive and understanding person in your own light. I'm not saying co-sign bad behavior. I'm not saying forgive people if they are problematic. I'm just saying try and show as much empathy as you can in your day-to-day life towards people who might have emotional struggles that you yourself don't have. This is why I hate my hair. Do you see how greasy that shit looks? It's literally been 1 day since I washed you, sir. And my hair is a sir, given how prone it is to throwing temper tantrums. My hair is definitely a sir. The earrings that I'm wearing are these, they're like these tiny little hoops. Can you guys see them? Yeah, I don't know if you guys, it's pretty bright, so you might not be able to see. It's got like a little pattern carved into it. I don't know, they're cute. I like them. They're nice everyday earrings. How do I look? How does the look turn out? How did the look turn out? I think it looks pretty nice. I'd wear this out. Yeah. Makeup things wise, not sure how I like the concealer so far. The color really wasn't a great match for me, and it's kind of splitting up underneath my eyes. This is great. Use it a ton. Really big fan of it. This palette is fantastic quality. The white and black shades are a little hard to use, but other than that, because they're like split pan, as you can see, hard to get your brush into them. But everything else about this is fantastic. I've had it for like, I want to say like a year, and it's worked very, very well for me. All the colors work very well. It's an ideal fall palette. And the only other issue with it is that it's pretty thick. It's like a good, like, it's like that. Like it's like a chunk. And on the final words on the article, try and be a better person and talk about your own struggles as much as you can online, regardless of what those struggles actually are. Because the more people see that everyone struggles, the more comfortable they will feel about their own struggles, and the more likely they will be to share those experiences with the people around them as well and lighten their load. Pain shared is pain halved, and I really do believe in that. Well, that will be it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this video. Give me a thumbs down if you hated it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know if you guys would like to see a book review for any of those books and to see if those ideas actually have merits. Additionally, you can also let me know down below what you thought of the article or my analysis of it. Anything really. If you hated my lip color, let me know that. If you guys want to see a review of any particular makeup products, you can let me know that down below as well. And the next time I want to do an article review and chit chat, that's where I can do it. If you guys want me to cover other subjects, that's also cool. Just let me know down below. I have a very wide variety of interests, but I don't know why I like to speak on this one the most on this channel. So leave all that information down below. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell on your way out, and hit all if you want to know when I upload any video right away. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram, where I put up all of my food and my life, and I don't have a life, so it's just food, but I'm a pretty good cook, so that's where you can find that content. I've got Twitter, where I'm a little bit toxic and a little bit petty, but I'm pretty entertaining as well, and that's the easiest place to talk to me, so you can find me there. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing and you'd like me to continue, you can toss a few coins in my direction down there. You can also toss a few coins in my direction on the community tab. As of yet, it is still the unnamed community tab because I don't know what to call it, but you know, you guys could throw some name suggestions down there. There've been a couple of good ones. I think I'm going to compile a list of them, and then I'll pick the one that I like, the 4 that I like the most, and I'll put it in like a poll or something on my community tab page. As always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.